Welcome back to the Interviewing People CareerCast, featuring highlights from last week's full-length interview with Terry Leibold, a photographer for NASA at the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. Terry shares the story of how he started with NASA as a photographer, how relationships led to more opportunities, how he continued to learn even after many years as a photographer, and much more. So sit back, relax, and know you can always go back to watch our full interview if you'd like to learn more. Enjoy the show.
I was staying at home with my daughter and kind of freelancing as a photographer around the area. My wife's family was coincidentally also in the photography business. They had their own studio and store for over 50 years. So I had a little bit of a connection with them. I was able to work through them, some of the part-time jobs and all. And one of those part-time jobs was working with a film crew that was making a movie, sort of a religious theme type movie. And they hired me because of her. And I was working as a photographer with them and started meeting all the people that was working along with the movie. And the director and the photographer for the movie, they had a contract with NASA at the time to operate the photo lab. So I'm still working part-time, freelancing, and I get a phone call one day and manager of the photo lab says, "We got a temporary position available. Would you be interested?" And I said, "Well, how long?" And he said, "Well, it could be 6 weeks to 6 months." And I said, "Of course, I'd be interested. An opportunity like working at NASA would be a great benefit." So I took the job and ended up working for them for 6 months. A few weeks later, there was another temporary job opening at the photo lab. So I took it. And then before that was over, they decided to hire me as a photographer. One of the reasons was, I guess they knew who I was. And I was also a scuba diver and an underwater photographer. And one of the things that I enjoyed the most was acting as an underwater photographer in the Marshall Space Flight Center neutral buoyancy simulator. It's a big round swimming pool, 40 feet deep, 75 foot across, maybe 1,000,000 gallons of water. Sometimes I'd run a 16 millimeter underwater photography, movie camera. And that was just an exceptional opportunity. During that time, I think I worked in more than 400 different test dives for them. Several I remember was the first Hubble repair mission. They brought a mock-up of the Hubble telescope, put it down in the bottom of the tank, and then they would bring the astronauts who were actually going to go up into space and repair it or replace it, I guess, the items that they needed, and update anything else that they could while we were there. I did have plenty of opportunities to extend myself. You know, the underwater photography was just one side of it. On the other side of it, I was a regular still photographer. I was involved with a lot of different testing that was going on, different hardware buildups. And with them, then I would meet the managers, and then I would meet the test conductors and the engineers that were involved, because I'd be there and taking photos for them. And with that, then they knew who I was. It became, we want Terry, come to do this. We want him because we understand what he's going to do for us. And that just kind of snowballed. The more people I was involved with the testing, the more people I met, the more people knew me. And I took those opportunities through as much as I could.
Right.
So I went from just being a photographer to being an underwater photographer to being a high speed photographer, a high altitude photographer, and different things like that, because I had met those people before and had done jobs for them. And so they knew who I was. It was just easy. I actually ended up going to school in Alabama and graduated with a Bachelor of Science in accounting. So my dream was to be an accountant. And that's where I was working as for, I guess, 6 years or so in Cincinnati before we moved back to Huntsville, and I left that job. And coincidentally, I met my wife, who had the photography studio, and she taught me how to do darkroom work, how to actually print the negatives. And that was one of the things they wanted, is somebody who could print film. In my first job at Marshall, that's why I was selected. They knew that I could work in the darkroom,
Right.
and do that work. And everything just kind of snowballed again. You learn one thing and take advantage of it, and learn another thing, and just keep moving on like that. When they needed an extra hand, somebody to carry some equipment or something like that, I always volunteered because I wanted to learn how to do that. And when one of them got sick and ended up having to retire, there was an opening. I knew more about it than the other two photographers did because I was involved with it. I took that jump, to go out to help.
Mhm.
So I got the promotion and moved up to the high speed photography. So now I'm an underwater photographer, I'm a still photographer, and now I'm a high speed photographer. They needed somebody to go out to California to learn about it. So I volunteered, teach me, show me this. This is something else that I could do. So I went out to California and learned about high speed digital photography, came back, told my bosses about it. They ended up buying one of the first high speed digital cameras. And we would take that out, and of course there was no instruction manual. It was more or less you kind of have to learn how this thing's going to work, because sometimes even the salesman didn't understand how it worked exactly. And it didn't really even stop with the high-speed digital. I also got into Photoshop. I got into Premiere video editing and became a video person also. And because I could do still photography, video, do my own editing, they sent me over to England. They sent me to Germany because one guy could do two jobs.
Right.
I could stand there and take the stills, and then I could pick up a video camera and do the video work, and then come back and do all the editing and that. So, you can't beat the opportunity that I had because of the extra knowledge I picked up. Well, I took photos of George Bush when he was president. I sat next to Al Gore on a bus going from place to place for half a day. Lots of senators, lots of representatives, a Prince, a lot of Hollywood people would come out there that I would follow them around for their VIP tour and take pictures of them.
Right.
The astronauts that would come to the neutral buoyancy simulator, of course, I met all of them and worked with them quite often. And I don't know if they would know my last name, but they always knew Terry.
Thank you for watching this episode showing highlights of the latest Interviewing People career cast with Terry Leibold. And to make your Mondays better than ever, subscribe so you can hear more career stories from those who are actually doing the work. Thank you for watching, and as always, remember that the best part about Mondays is interviewing people.